Seems to work.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start the recording so we can start. So I'm Yaki. I worked on the DevOps part of this project in terms of the E2 microservices. What I'm going to work through is really the let's say it's a regular process like all other repos in ORAN. I put in this in those few slides really the links to the relevant places, the Docker files, the JGBs, and etc. And I will go over with you on those files and show you whatever we have, including, of course, the Helm charts. And you are free to ask a question whenever you want, of course. So, of course, we have the E2 manager and the E2 term, and we're building it using the Docker files. The base image that we are using is the CGO for both. This is true for both containers. We're using this the regular builder Ubuntu 18 CGO. One, of course, that the E2 term is more C. Oh, the application is written using C, so all the tools that all the make and also the boost which is really the big one that's take a lot to build. That's why, of course, it's in the base image. This can take to install it can take, if I remember correctly, about an hour. So you have it in the base image, and the E2 manager, sorry, the E2 term is using it to build the application. The E2 manager, of course, is using the is Go language. So we're using it. We have here all what we need to build and to scan the E2 manager. The E2 manager will also have Sonar scan jobs that you will see. For the E2 term, we do not have it. So if we're starting with the E2 manager, the E2 manager is pretty straightforward. Of course, the Docker is using the again the base image, and you can see it was not at the beginning, but now the part of the build part of the multi-stage is really done. Most of it is done here on this script. We're only installing before that the only sudo, so we are able to run the script, and then you can go to the script in the same repository. Of course, you have the script, and the script is installing, it's downloading for the package cloud the deb files for the RMR, and installing all other needed tools. And at the end, of course, it's doing the Go build. You have here also the ASN1 codecs that are needed as well. The Go ACC is really for the code coverage that is done on the scan jobs that you will see. And again, at the end, we are building, of course, the application in this script. And after the script is done, when going back to the Docker file, we're copying on the next layer. We're again installing the few tools that we need to debug and copying what's needed from the build stage. We have the router txt is, of course, in case there is no routing manager. It's more for testing environment, and the rest, the configuration file, the RMR verbose and the RMR lib that all I needed for the application to run. And that's it. Pretty simple. It's listening on port 3800 by default for the communication, for the incoming communication. So this is as we can again. I think it's really straightforward. Of course, there's nothing fancy here. The E2 term also have the link here for the E2 term Docker file. Here everything is done on the Docker file. The first, of course, first stage of the build again using the base image and installing all the needed prerequisite for the application. All again, it needs of course the RMR and also other Debian files that are needed for the application, and we're building all the layers, including the Prometheus exporter that this container have, and that's it. And here on the next stage, we're really copying everything from the first. As you can see, there are a lot of libs that we need for the application. So we're copying everything from the build stage to the application stage, and that's it. At the end, we have the startup script that is running here. We have multiple ports here, of course. We have HTTP port, and we have the RMR ports. We have the SCTP port and HTTP port also for Prometheus. So here you will see on the Helm chart that at the end, the application is exposing more ports, of course, than the E2 manager. So this is for the build of the containers. As I said, it's pretty much straightforward. Any questions?
Yaki, this E2T also uses accepts. So those are not listed here. Is it, or my understanding is not correct?
What is not listing here?
I mean, E2T, in order to build E2T component, as you know, like RMR libraries are required. Similarly, accepts are also required, right? Accept.
I don't
understand either. Accept. What do you mean, Judge?
I mean, accept framework. I meant.
Expect probably.
Accept.
Oh.
Accept.
Wait a second. Can you send a link or something? What do you mean?
Yeah, because I'm not sure, and maybe need Adi to address that. Because this from what I know, this is, and you can see this is all what we have here. So you can send the details, and I will check.
Yeah.
I meant accept. Okay.
The XApp framework. Okay, we call it
yes.
XApp and not XApp.
Okay. Okay.
That's why. Okay. Obviously, it's
the XApp, but XApp framework. I'm not sure that this is.
An E2 termination. It's not needed.
No, it's not. Yeah, it is not really talking directly with the XApp, so I don't think it's needed.
Yeah. Thanks for answering.
Okay, so again, those are the build part of the application. We have here the JJB files really of the both application. This is the E2 manager. It's pretty much as you should know from other project. We have here all the project that we are using in order to build, verify, and all the flow really of the code life cycle of the code from pull request to the commit to the master. We have also here the sonar scanning. This is a project that is running the sonar scanning, and again you will see it on the Jenkins. Again the E2 term you will see don't have it. We have it, but this is again the project as should be as like any other uh, repo with the release at the end, of course, and the release job, and before that all the other verify jobs that needs to be run before it. I put also here the link to the Jenkins. I can see here all the jobs as they are in Jenkins as well. If it's on the Docker, verify merge, and this is the Sonar job as well that is running. I think that's it in terms of the JGB and the Jenkins part of it. I did the same here again, just for it will be easier for you to see. The same from the E2. Again, as I mentioned, the E2 don't have the sonar scanning part, or only the build, the Docker build, and the merge part of it. Of course, that for both containers, in terms of when you are, sorry, just a second. For both containers, if I'm going here, aside from the Docker file, of course, there's the container tag that you should handle when you want to build a new tag for each push, and also when you want from the release as well, you will need to update the relevant files. But this is just like any other project that you have. And the part of the Helm charts, again, the Helm charts are here, and for the Helm chart, from the E2 manager Helm chart, as you can see, of course, we have the deployment YAML, and we'll go over it, and we have the two interfaces, the HTTP service and RMR service. The HTTP is, of course, really the interface. I'm pretty sure that Idan probably, or Shuki, showed you the API of the E2 manager, the way to interact with it. And there is also the RMR that is used for the RMR routing between all RMR components. The deployment again is the Helm chart is pretty much straightforward. What we have is aside from the Docker, the container itself, we have the mount from the configuration of it, and also the router txt again, in case this is without a routing manager. All the environment variables are coming from the config map of the environment, and I can show it. And we have, as I mentioned, the RMR, the relevant port, if it's the HTTP and RMR ports for the routing and data of the RMR. There's the liveliness probe, which is using the liveliness API that the E2 manager expose over HTTP. That's it, really simple one. If I'm going to the config map here again creates the RMR when needed, the RMR file, and here you can see the configuration YAML, you can of course edit the log level of it, and you can change the port if needed, but this is the default, and also the max size of the packets, and routing manager URLs and all other default. You have here the default value on all the other parameters. Of course, you can override it if needed from the environment files, and also from the example recipe if you are running, if you are deploying it using the example recipe and the deploy script of ORAN. For the E2 term, we have also put here the Helm charts of the E2 term. Here we also have the persistent volume and persistent volume claim that is used in PIS only, and I didn't mention in the E2 manager. Of course, the E2 manager, you have the replica of the E2 manager. You can play with the replica. So we have multiple E2 managers that really the Kubernetes is handling the multiple instances as regular Kubernetes service through the service of Kubernetes. But with the E2 term, it's different. With the E2 term, I will show you in a minute, since each E2 term needs to have a specific service and specific RMR service and also HTTP service for each instance of it, because it's not really round robin between the E2 terms. If the run is initiating a connection to the E2 term, then it's going directly to specific E2 term according to the route needs in the network. So we had to put for the multiple E2 term instances, we had to create a Helm chart, so in a way, so we can deploy multiple let's call standalone E2 terms. So it will not really it's not round robin through the services of the Kubernetes. Each service is going directly to one E2 term, and for that you see here the keys that the top CTX and keys that are used for in the Helm chart, and this is you can see. Let me see if it's here. I don't remember. We'll see in a minute. No, just a second. Oh, it's in the environment. This is all the charts. I need to go to the value. Sorry. Okay, so here in the value YAMLs, you can see that we have here. This is example of only one. So there is alpha and all the parameters that relevant from this alpha E2 term. If you're creating additional section exactly like this with, let's say, beta, gamma, and so on, you can create multiple E2 terms, and the way that the Helm chart will work, each one of it will have exactly replica count of 1, but the Helm chart will really create multiple deployment and multiple services of E2 terms. So you will have multiple E2 terms in your deployment, and you can again access each one directly through its service. So you will see E2 term alpha, E2 term beta, service, RMR service alpha, RMR service beta for all for each instance that you are putting here in the value YAML. And again, the same goes from the example recipe. You can also put multiple E2 terms, instances, alpha, beta, and so on to have a multiple E2 term deployment. In addition, the liveness and readiness, we are using the RMR probe that was provided by the RMR team. So in the E2 manager, the health of the container is being done using the health check API of the E2 manager. In E2 term, where we're using native RMR to check that the RMR interface is up. And in case the RMR interface is up, we're good, and so the container, so Kubernetes mark is as ready and running during the deployment. Any questions on the Helm charts? Okay. Any other questions regarding the process of the CI/CD in terms of E2 in E2 manager? Let's see. Okay. So that's it. That's it on my side. Again, unless you have questions, I'll be happy to answer. And if we have questions, of course, later, we will be happy to address it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Eki.